हे एवरीवन, आज हमारे इस खास पॉडकास्ट में हम बात करने वाले हैं मॉन्टेसरी सिस्टम की, जो सिर्फ बुक्स तक ही लिमिटेड नहीं है, बल्कि उनके डेवलपमेंट से बच्चे का पूरा मेंटल और पर्सनल डेवलपमेंट में भी हेल्प मिलती है। अक्सर पेरेंट्स सोचते हैं कि कौन सा स्कूल या कौन से पढ़ाई का तरीका उनके बच्चे के लिए बेस्ट रहेगा। अगर आप भी इन सभी सवालों का जवाब ढूंढ रहे हैं तो ये पॉडकास्ट खास आपके लिए है। आज हमारे साथ हैं श्रीविद्या स्कूल की प्रिंसिपल सोमा सिंह। वेलकम मैम।
Thank you, Bhavna.
मॉन्टेसरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम। मैम, आई वांट टू नो कि मॉन्टेसरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम एक्चुअली में क्या होता है और क्या डिफरेंस है मॉन्टेसरी एजुकेशन में और ट्रेडिशनल एजुकेशन पैटर्न में।
So, Bhavna, a Montessori education system had been introduced by Maria Montessori in Italy. She was a physician, and while she was dealing with kids, she had created an education system which was entirely student led. It's a child centered learning system where the child has a prepared environment, a structured environment, but within that structured environment, the child has n number of choices, and the child has lots and lots of opportunities to make a selection, a decision about what activity the child wants to participate in, and the pace with which the child learns. And it's a lot of discovery based, exploration based, inquiry based, curiosity based education system. Okay. So it leads to lots of developmental benefits for the young learners.
ओके, व्हाई इट इज सो डिफरेंट? ऐसा क्या खास बात है इस मॉन्टेसरी में और पहले वाले एजुकेशन सिस्टम में?
राइट, सो भावना, आई एम CBSE resource person, and I take trainings across the country on the various modules. So the traditional education system is the teacher centered education system. So say, considering whether it is the active learning module that I train the teachers in, or whether it is the say storytelling, or it is art integration, a lot of things that are happening these days, but majorly the traditional methods are teacher centered, where there is a syllabus, there is a set curriculum, a content, and that content is primarily delivered by the teacher, where the children do not have a choice to select what to learn, how to learn, whereas Montessori gives that kind of a freedom to the children to make a choice for themselves. So that's what differentiates the Montessori education system from the traditional education system. Primarily, it is the child, it is the person, the learner in the focus. Okay. So how does learning happen? Learning happens through the engagement of the learner. And when the learner is in the position of making a choice, making a decision about oneself, the engagement is indeed far, far better, and therefore the learning is much, much better in Montessori system.
Okay. Ma'am, like you told a lot about Montessori education system, how a parent can effectively implement this Montessori education system at home?
So, Bhavna, you will be very happy to know that Montessori education system is very close to the real life scenario. So, when you want to extend that learning from the Montessori classroom for home, you'll have to create an arrangement, a setup which is similar, not identical, in a way that when the child is young, as the age progresses, the child's height, the physical parameters change, and we can create say a furniture setup, the say toys racks which are approachable, so that the child is making a choice every time when they are selecting a toy or a particular activity to play with, so it is approachable. Whereas at the same time, it needs a lot of patience on part of the parents at home, that they're not seeking instant gratification, that we are doing this activity with the child and therefore instant results would come. It's a lifestyle that one adapts to. So when you adopt the Montessori system at school and you generate a home environment which is compatible, it is going to give results over a period of time. So we do parent education programs in addition to the teachers trainings, and And that's how parents can come to know about what the Montessori setup is, and they can always seek advice from the teachers about the extension of the learning at home. Majorly, what we expect in a Montessori education system from the parents is not to give children any academic guidance, not to send them for any coachings or tuitions, not to teach them anything, but to play with them, to engage with them in the day-to-day activities.
Okay.
So it is absolutely conducive for a home environment as well.
Okay. A lot goes by saying that Montessori education system makes a child independent and confident. Can you elaborate on this statement?
So what happens in a Montessori environment is there are different stages. So the child enters the Montessori system in the play group where the child is just 2 plus.
Okay.
And when they are 2 years plus in age, they have lot of sensory based learning. So there is a lot of sensorial material. I would like to share with you what the sensorial material is. It is the material which the child can sense through the sense of touch, that is tactile sense, the sense of sight, the sense of hearing, the sense of smell, the sense of taste, and the learning happens through all these senses. So up till the age of 6, the child learns a lot through sensorial material. Another thing, how the confidence comes in. So the children are inducted into a Montessori setup through the settling down material. So there are n number of puzzles, games available wherein the child is welcomed into the setup, the classroom setup, through an activity which engages the child, at the same time builds up the focus. For example, if the child has been given a newspaper ball to just pick and target it in a basket. So that particular activity draws the child's attention that there is something exciting in this classroom. It is not that he is being greeted by dull faces. He is being engaged and welcomed into an environment which is very exciting. So the child targets that ball into that basket and the child's attention is in. After that, there are set rules, though there are very few rules. Okay. So it's not an instruction based methodology. It is very few standard rules are there which the children follow. They're not extensive instructions. And the child knows that the child now has to pick up a sitting mat for himself, a working mat for himself. They spread that nicely and then they can select any kind of puzzle or games out of the settling down material. Right. And they sit down, they play. With a group of 25, there are 2 teachers in a classroom. And the teachers are not the, say, the people who are governing this setup. It is the child who is making decisions about what to do. But the teachers are constantly observing the children and they notice as to who is doing what in that arrangement. And when the teacher notices that some children or a particular child has played with all those puzzles and tools and now they're ready to move to the next step, then they introduce them to the next set of activities which are education from practical life. So wherein they do very simple activities like pounding, like mala making, like threading the needle, simple activities. The buttons, the buttoning activity, the hooking activity, the lacing activity. So those simple activities also relate a lot with the home environment. And the parents really appreciate the Montessori setup because it prepares the children for practical life. So anybody who has learned to button up the shirt in the classroom at a very young age, where their fine muscles are still developing, they would start taking that task onto themselves. Right. So it becomes less of a hassle for a parent. The child learns to fold the napkin. So the child back at home is able to support the parents by folding the clothes. Even dusting is an activity that builds the fine motor muscles of the children. So it is that every single thing that the child does in the Montessori setup is having a say an occurrence at home in the practical life, and in the whole process, because they're making decisions for themselves, they are selecting their own activities, they are being independent there, they're not instructed and governed, so they develop a lot of confidence and decision making.
There are a lot of balls which are going up in the air that Montessori education system is just based on or till nursery and pre-primary sector. Is it true?
So you truly said, Bhavna, that it is a myth. Actually, Montessori becomes a lifestyle for the learners. And the lifestyle is that the learner is the center of the learning process, and that self-esteem, when they generate over a period of time, being in the position of making decisions for themselves, then collaborating with others, and exploring for themselves, they're discovering answers. And the best part of Montessori is that the children, it's a self-correcting methodology. So there are materials where there are tools, the children play with those, they carry out those activities, and they discover that this is not correct, and they identify the errors themselves and they correct those errors. So that also becomes a lifetime. So where there is no failure, there is no excitement of being like high performer one point of time and being a failure at the other time. It is every day child is attempting something new, correctly, not correctly, correcting themselves. So it's a very seamless journey, and that becomes a lifestyle. Even in senior classes, the children very seamlessly say transit into the inquiry based learning, the project based learning, then community based learning, then case study based learning, and those are the kind of pedagogies that we use across the world for the senior classes. Even in my IIM course, I had done case based studies. So children not only prepare for that foundational stage, they prepare for the highest level of learning, and they excel. I would like to share with you that there are people who are well-known entrepreneurs who have passed from Montessori system. For example, the founder of Amazon, Jeff Bezos, is a product of Montessori system. Larry Page, who founded Google, is from Montessori system. Taylor Swift, who doesn't know her creativity and her say her acumen. Likewise, there are so many authors, so many people world across. Montessori has given very successful entrepreneurs to the world.
Like we discussed, ma'am, Montessori education system is purely based and is focused on child. Does this Montessori education system creates an indisciplinary in the class? If yes, then how can this be helpful in building up a child cognitive growth?
Okay, so what happens is, so let's try and visualize a Montessori environment. So there is a room, there is a prepared environment for the child where there are different opportunities for child to explore, and the teacher's role is not that of a teacher. The teacher is not an instructor, the teacher is a facilitator and is a guide. So there are, say, 25 children entering the classroom, and there is, as I said, there are set norms as to how you would conduct yourself into this environment. So children are briefed that this is allowed and this is not allowed. So whereas the children have an opportunity to make choices for themselves, but the discipline goes like this, that the children would put up their mat themselves, they'll put their working mat themselves, they'll work on those and they'll put them back themselves. Every time they're using a new tool, there is a designated position and a place of that tool, that instrument, that kit in that arrangement. The child will pick this up on their own, and the child would place it on the mat nicely. There is a protocol for how to place it, how to pick it, how to move with it. It rather builds lots of self-discipline among learners. So they're not being disciplined by the outer force. They are being disciplined by their own sense of responsibility. So in the process, children end up being very responsible. They become very clear thinkers. So because they know what will precede what. And the moment the teacher finds that the child has used certain material and they have reached a certain level of achievement in terms of learning, the teacher invites the child politely to move to the next step. So it's the it's to one approach, and the teachers are observing. So the teacher would sit down with one child after inviting that child for a particular next level activity. The teacher will guide, and then the child is given independent play time to play and work with that particular tool till that child becomes proficient with that and is moving on to the next. So by and by, all children are brought to the same level. So it's not a one-to-many instructions, it's a one-to-one guidance that the teacher provides. How beautiful that is, that all children are busy in their respective activities, their own engagement. At the same time, whoever is ready, whatever is needed to be done next, the teacher notices and the teacher guides. So this works beautiful, and the children become amazing, self-disciplined, responsible, confident decision makers in life.
Okay, ma'am, you are a principal of a prestigious school. What all infrastructures has been built by you as a principal in your school to implement this Montessori education system?
So, Bhavna, one is that we, like last time when I appeared for the podcast, I shared that Shree Vidya follows a student-centered pedagogy. So, in order to meet that requirement of being a prominent institution and child-centered institution, we have set up a Montessori lab, and that Montessori lab is a huge hall equipped with all the tools for numeracy building, language development, sensorial development, math building, math activities, and logical thinking building. So it is very great arrangement. Going forward for the senior children, we'll be setting up a STEM lab very soon. In the next month, that STEM lab would come so that children can do coding, robotics going forward with their learning progressing. Then we have due arrangements for the sports activities so that the children's gross motor development happens. And we have very amazing school calendar which provides the students lots and lots of activities, lots and lots of participation, so that we get a 360-degree learning outcomes achieved for each and every learner.
To implement this Montessori education system, how are teachers in your school being trained effectively?
So, Bhavna, one that I shared with you, that I am a CBSE resource person. So, I keep taking the training for teachers every week. In addition, for the Montessori education, we have done a dedicated training of over a week with our teachers. So, our resource person came from Bangalore, and she had trained all our teachers, be it the teachers who are teaching math, science, social sciences, languages to senior classes, or the teachers who are dealing with the toddlers. Everybody got trained into Montessori because we want to build that as the basic mindset for all our teachers to accept and navigate the journey, accept all the children and navigate the journey of all children into this being independent leaders of tomorrow's. So all the teachers are Montessori trained, and all the teachers are trained into the various modules of the CBSE training, and that's the way forward. This is an ongoing process. Learning is lifelong, both for learners as well as teachers. And for me as a school principal, you would be happy to know that even I have joined 4 courses after my education leadership course with IIM Kolkata. I am personally attending classes in the evenings online 3 days a week. So we are all lifelong learners and we are growing in our space.
There are a lot of things which is going on in my mind. Firstly, you said that you are into this Montessori education system for a long time and you are a CBSE board member. Can you share us some life experience of yours, any experience, so that wherein we can actually, a parent and a teacher can connect so that we can understand a little more about this education system?
So, Bhavna, the thing is that the young learners that the parent hands to a school for education, it is the parents the most precious most precious possession. A child is a parent's world. And when a parent comes to the school and then puts the child into the school, it's with a lot of faith, a lot of trust that the parent puts the child. And for this particular responsibility that we as a schools get, it is important that we work in very strong collaboration, very close relationship with the parents. So it's a collaborative effort. So we have lots and lots of parent engagement programs. One, that the parents in Montessori system are invited to be a part of the classroom setup. That means that on any given day, a parent may come and spend 2 hours or the entire day in Montessori setup. So that's a beautiful way of engaging with the parents and letting them know the power of Montessori. See, you talk a lot about, I as a school principal may talk a lot about Montessori system or the trainings that we do for teachers. But when the parent comes and sits in the classroom and then sees the child exploring different things, that's a different level of trust that it builds. So the Montessori open houses keep happening time and again. And that's one thing. Then there are PTMs, the parent teacher meetings, and I have, over my experience of say 27 years being a school teacher and a school leader, I know the families. I am in touch with the families where I've taught 3 children of the same family. I am friends with the parents as well as with the children. The children are doing so well now, they're getting married, settling down. So it's such a different level of accomplishment being in this state where you have such great bondings with your students and their parents.
Ma'am, we are living in a 21st century. So, and AI has been evolved out a lot, many procedure out. How does this Montessori education system is involved in AI technology, or how is it embracing out this?
So, Bhavna, one, as I said, the Montessori system is not something that is new. This was introduced in 1907 by Maria Montessori, Dr. Maria Montessori, and since then it has been prevalent in the world. Not that it was very popular in the country, in India, but it is something which is, you say na, which is timeless. It is relevant in all times because we are human beings, and a human child between the age of 0 to 2 sees the environment and builds the trust into the environment based on the engagement of the adults in his or her world. So it is relevant for those kids also, because Montessori provides those kids. So children come in playgroup at the age of 2, and it provides them that subtle environment where there is consistency. The teacher talks in the same tone, same gestures. So there is a provision of not overreacting to anything. Children are never told that this is wrong, you cannot do it. They're never discouraged. At the same time, they're not encouraged out of proportion that bravo, you've done it. No, it is a very subtle system. So children get very stable, consistent emotional balance. Plus, that the children then grow through their senses, and their senses are activated through the sensorial material. So they use the sensorial material and they start perceiving. Now they become the discoverers and explorers, and that is where, once they cross the age of 9, technology becomes a way forward for them. I do not advise that the children should be exposed to a lot of screen time below the age of 9, because they are still building on their emotions, and we must acknowledge their emotions. Rather, never ever we should negate their emotions. रो मत, दुखी क्यों हो, खुश क्यों नहीं हो. These are natural emotions. Every human being has the basic right to feel all different emotions. But once the children cross the age of 9, when their intellectual and cognitive development has begun, they use technology also to explore and say inquire about the world around them. They do find the real world solutions for the problems. So they develop into the problem solving individuals. So it combines so very well with the modern technology. But yes, not before the age of 9. Children's screen time must be restricted. The beauty in Montessori system is that the children are so engaged and engrossed in the learning process that they don't miss the screen. This is one method that the parents can adopt by putting their children into a Montessori setup by which they will get relieved of that child using phone excessively. Rather, till the age of 2, the screen should be an absolute no, because the child's environment, the child's perceptions, the child's senses get disrupted when we are giving them too much of screen exposure. Those colors, they should not be overwhelmed with anything. They should be given very soft, subtle environments around them.
To a crux of whatever ma'am said, we could understand that what Montessori system is, why it is so much relevant for our child journey, for each child journey, rather I should say this. Ma'am, to a crux of this, whatever we discussed up till now, I could make out that Montessori education system is learning by doing is actually.
So Bhavna, I'll give you a very interesting example here. So when we learned math, when we learned the place values, so when we were introduced to units, 10,000 for that matter, how were we informed? We knew numbers from 1 to 10, at the most 1 to 100. Beyond that, how would that small child receive what these abstract concepts are? So generally, they are not able to get that abstraction. So in Montessori, they use beads. So say there is a single bead, which is a unit. So when you place a unit on a mat, the child can see what a unit is. Then you add another unit to it. It becomes 2, from 1 to 2, 2 to 3. So it goes on till 9. And then you add one more. So it becomes 10. Right. So when it becomes 10, you put them through a wire in a rod form. Now you can call it a rod of 10. So child can see what 1 is and what 10s are. What 10 is now in one rod. Now when you place these 10 rods one beside the other, it becomes a square of 100. And the child can practically see, the child can count, can touch, can feel. And it's colorful beads, so it interests the child. So they can see 100 rather than just thinking 100 is 1, 0, 0. So 0 also I'll share with you how interestingly that the child discovers what 0 is. Now the child places these square plates of hundreds one over the other, and now it becomes 1,000, and the child can feel that 1,000. The child can see that cube of 1,000. So the child can see the real world material and build abstract concepts like this. Now what happens, there is a spindle box activity. So there is a box, there are compartments wherein the different numbers are written. The child has to count the spindles. Say 1 spindle puts in the block of 1. The 2 spindles are counted and put into the block of 2. Likewise up till 9. And the child discovers that there's one particular spindle where there is a O made, and there is no spindle put into it. And the child, after using this material for say 4-5 times, comes to realize for oneself, why am I not putting any spindle here? The child may ask the teacher, why am I not putting any spindle? So the teacher says, this is 0 and there is no spindle here. So 0 means nothing. So this is how maybe some time के जब आर्यभट्टा ने ये डिस्कवर किया होगा 0, शून्य मतलब नथिंगनेस. तो हमारे तो इंडियन स्पिरिचुअल सिस्टम में है ना, जब आप कुछ भी नहीं सोच रहे हो तो आप शून्य में हो. अक्सर हम बच्चे को भी कह देते हैं ना, वेयर आर यू लुकिंग, यू लुकिंग समवेयर इन स्पेस, शून्य में देख रहे हो. तो दैट्स हाउ द चाइल्ड, लाइकवाइज द डेसिमल इज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड. सो the Montessori material is very powerful in building the concepts of higher classes also. Okay. There are tools for learning arithmetics, there are tools for learning trigonometry, there are tools for learning geometrical shapes. Something that we did not understand as teachers to a large extent as to how do we explain different dimensions to the child. So like what is one dimensional, what is two dimensional, what is three dimensional. Why is a line one dimensional? Why is a square टू डायमेंशनल, वाई इज अ क्यूब थ्री डायमेंशनल। यहाँ बच्चा देख सकता है कि वो रॉड है वो एक लाइन में एक्सटेंड कर सकते हो तो वन डायमेंशनल है, ये स्क्वायर है आपको लेंथ ब्रेथ के अक्रॉस एक्सटेंड कर सकते हो, टू डायमेंशनल है, क्यूब है उसको लेंथ ब्रेथ और हाइट में एक्सटेंड कर सकते हो, थ्री डायमेंशनल है। सो लॉट्स ऑफ थ्री डायमेंशनल फिगर्स दे सी, एंड सो everything that the child learns has a relation, has something to relate with it, has some real world context with it, and that's how beautifully the very very deep concepts are built in Montessori.
जिन पेरेंट्स को मॉन्टेसरी एजुकेशन सिस्टम के बारे में पता नहीं है मैम, आप उनको क्या एडवाइस देंगी?
So one is Bhavna, that I shared, we are organizing a Montessori open house every Saturday between 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. The parents can walk in into our school and we do the presentations on Montessori activities for parents. That's one way of learning. Then there is a lot of content online, but if they come to see the real thing, how it operates in the school, is the best way to learn, and they can find some backdrop information over the YouTube, over the media, and they can read articles about Montessori, and they'll come to know the power of Montessori system. We're happy that we have initiated this movement in the NH24 region, so that the parents and children can gain benefit, and we can reach to say the society, and we can inform the parents that there is a powerful system through which the real world issues of today, the lifestyle problems that happen. See, the Montessori material, the sensorial material that I talked about, is also used by different therapists for occupational therapy. You know, the children who are delayed in their development, or the child is at some autistic spectrum, or there is some kind of other learning disability or some difficulty, for example ADHD or something. So the sensorial material helps the children to smoothen their journey, and many people have gained benefits out of it. You would meet many pediatricians using the sensorial material for providing therapy to children. So today's lifestyle, where the world of the children have got just enveloped in those 3 BHK 4 BHK houses, those only with their nuclear families, sometimes the parents are also working, so the children are not able to get that due engagement with the beings around them. They're not connected with the children of their age. Montessori system helps them overcome those little disadvantages that they may have in their personal life. So this system helps the children overcome those and will get them put on to their journey of learning in a very smooth and seamless manner. So we're here to answer the majority of the difficulties that the young parents are facing with the young learners, with the children. We are here to support them.
थैंक यू सो मच मैम, मॉन्टेसरी एजुकेशन के बारे में इतना डीप इंफॉर्मेशन देने के लिए।
थैंक यू सो मच।
कैसे ये बच्चे नॉर्मल लर्निंग प्रोसेस को सपोर्ट कर सकता है, उन्हें इंडिपेंडेंट बनाता है और उनका कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ाता है। अगर आप भी चाहते हैं कि आपका बच्चा एक हैप्पी, सेल्फ रिलायंट और क्यूरियस लर्नर बने, तो श्री विद्या स्कूल आपके लिए बेस्ट चॉइस है। सो आज के पॉडकास्ट में बस इतना ही। हम फिर मिलेंगे एक नए टॉपिक, एक नए पॉडकास्ट में। थैंक यू।